Greetings.
Greetings.
Listeners. I first want to thank the organizers for inviting me to do this review, and I want to thank you guys for attending and being here to support David on yet another venture. At the beginning, Brother Umfra had started the theme for my review when he stated that we should write our own story. And so before I begin to review the book, I want to quickly commend the author, David Comichaud. I want to commend him for continuing in the tradition of early activists and revolutionaries, and basically continuing to help to create our narratives, the recording of our history through our eyes. The importance of this worldwide project cannot be discounted. I am always a bit overwhelmed and I'm fascinated when I'm doing research, and it is evident from the timelines between the action and the written political thought that whilst the ancestors were agitating and engaging in activities that were aimed really at creating change that they envisioned, they were somehow finding the time to commit their thoughts and dreams, their aspirations and advice to writing. And it is through them that they're immortalized, and we are able to develop the consciousness and the vocabulary necessary for us to continue the collective improvement project of people of African descent through generation to generation. And David, based on this book and the others that he has written, has proven committed in this honorable tradition. And for that, join me in commending him. As a student of political science and international relations, the topic of reparation comes up regularly in different situations. And I chose to review this section of the book because I have personally been privy to many of the misconceptions that exist on the topic. These misconceptions are numerous, and most times they're the narratives of interest groups being espoused by the disenfranchised that, ironically, reparations is intended to enfranchise. And so I want to re-emphasize the theme of creating our own narratives and recording our own history, and I am extremely pleased that a book entitled Reasonings with Youth, David has chosen to include not one but 2 chapters on the important topic of reparations. And he is not disappointed for those who have read the book. I'm sure you agree with me. Whilst there is much more information on reparations that persons requiring further knowledge can research, David has included some very important basics that he has done it in a systematic way that can help young persons to begin to do their own research and to dispel notions of what reparation means and what it entails. Whilst I do not want to disclose the entire section, I want to point out some of these issues. David discusses what reparation is not, and he does this before he discusses what reparations is, and he has done this consciously. I suspect because of the widespread nature of the misconceptions surrounding reparations. The book therefore reads as though he is saying, I know what you think you know about reparations, so let us discuss this, and then let us get to the truth. His fact finding is exactly that, and it is therefore absent of conjecture and suppositions. He takes an historical lens to the issue and points out that reparations is not a race issue, but it is an issue of the disenfranchised and those who in their own interests have committed atrocities that have seen generational effects of these actions ascribed to both parties. And so he unpacks the fact that reparations is an accepted form of compensation for economic loss and wrongs against humanities. He therefore situates that this is proven by payments to the French by the people of Haiti for the loss of enslaved property, due to the Standard Man Revolution. He also notes the payments by the British Crown to slave owners for loss of income due to emancipation in the British West Indies. But he acknowledges, and I quote, "These are warped and distorted uses of the concept of reparations, but it demonstrates that the concept is not a new one, nor one that is foreign to Europeans." End of quote. In other words, they have created the precedent that states that the people should be repaired economically for injustices. Personally, I've always thought that on this basic premise, the descendants of Black African enslaved people should have received reparations already. But of course, the process to this point has proved to be more complex. And the question of why remains. David has laid naked the numerous occasions that reparations of a more justified manner than the previous examples have been paid to different groups the world over. And yet, he states, and I quote again, "When we examine this historical record, however, it becomes clear that there is one monumental historical wrong that has not yet been addressed. I refer to what must be considered to be the greatest Holocaust in the history, the 400-year-long syndrome of the mass kidnapping, enslavement, and racist suppression of people of African descent." Of the people of Africa, and their New World progeny, I lost my place for a minute. End of quote. And so we see that there remains for the writer no qualms as to the depth of the injustices that Africans have endured for centuries under the capitalist system of chattel slavery. But David does not make such a profound statement in a vacuum. He goes further and he unpacks the economic, social, the political, and the technological effects that remain collectively on the states and peoples of Africa and African heritage. In the tradition of our Guyanese ancestor, the late Walter Rodney, he juxtaposes these facts against the economic, social, political, and technological framework of states and the descendants of those who benefited economically from Black enslavement and the slave trade. He therefore highlights the need to correct these injustices through limiting existing systemic inequality, and whilst he's adamant that this can be remedied with reparations, he remains mindful that reform is also of pertinent necessity. I should note, however, that though it appears as though I've said quite a bit on that chapter, I've only just skimmed the surface of what David has written concisely on 6 pages of this entire book. He has done so in simple language, but he has avoided being simplistic. Even as he did this, the writing is clear, and he's rational and systematic in the development of his points, and this makes for a very easy and enjoyable read. The book reasons with the youth. The youth is just as its name suggests. It is an elder having a conversation with the youth. He's reminding us that there's a long tradition of struggle within our communities, and he's urging us to get involved, to take up the mantle and be a part of the continuation of creating through action a community with less injustices, less ignorance, and less inequality. The book does not look for excuses as to why certain situations or circumstances exist. Instead, it examines the historical and more contemporary linkages to those issues and maintains one overarching theme aimed at the improvement of our people. And that theme is what is to be done. Thank you.